Alright, so I think a month ago now, maybe a little longer, I was approached by the director of a film called Camp Death 3 in 2D. And he wanted me to review his movie. That's always difficult for us film reviewers, because here it is, you're getting a free movie, you don't give it a good review, then you're being less than honest, and I'm as guilty as any for buffing up a review to make a film sound better than it was because I got it for free. And then if you don't tell this director what you really thought, you're really just being even more ungrateful, because then, he doesn't know how to improve. So there's that, and also the fact that normally when I look at an indie horror film, I go, whoa, an indie horror film! Or whatever you do to simulate cocaine. Doesn't quite go with my Sharktopus 17, but what does? So I watched Camp Death in 3D, and it is not an easy movie to get a hold of at this point. It's still on the circuit for festivals, I believe. Which brings the question, so why are you asking people to review it? But basically, it is supposed to be a shot at the Jason Voorhees / the slasher film genre, or even the summer camp film genre, of which there exists. So it's like, I don't remember the other films in the series, and I really haven't seen them because they tend to be cheap, crappy films. But this is a thing. Summer camp films, even though Nightmare or Friday the 13th was only one set of summer camp, so far as I'm aware. The rest of the things did take place around the summer camp, but not at it. So there's a question there. Anyway, but what this is just imagine if Troma did a soft-core version of their slasher film. And what does that mean? Well, if you're not familiar with Troma Studios, they do films like Tromeo and Juliet, The Toxic Avenger, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, and this film is around the adult level of maybe a Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. It's not a Poultrygeist, because Poultrygeist featured a lot of nudity and sexuality, and it is the same kind of comedy. And you've got a lot of wonderful characters in this film, but I do believe I read in the credits that there was a number of different people that came up with scenes, and they strung those scenes together to make the movie, and that's kind of where this whole thing falls apart. I mean, you've got, like, for example, there's a character who the joke is he is ridiculously Irish. Carries around a case full of potatoes, dances with a potato with a face drawn on it, always smoking, and talks about the potato blight. Okay, now I'm an educated person, and I get those jokes. I'm Irish, they're not funny. Maybe you think they're funny, I don't. Okay? This film is not for everybody, it may be for you. Now, as far as the rest of the cast, many of them are mentally ill, because the premise is a summer camp is being used as a rehab center for mentally ill people. And I am the worst person to watch this movie, because I've met people with these conditions. I've met people with anger conditions. I've worked with people who are women that think they're men, even though they're not taking the hormone therapy and they're not truly a transgender. They just cannot identify with being female. I've woken up as Santa Claus. I mean, this movie has a lot to do with my life. Even the dysfunctional owner and his wife, who he doesn't appear to like very much, are characters who I can really relate to because I've met them. And those are two of the best characters in there. So there is this menagerie of characters that they're very real to me, so they're not funny to me. And that's the problem for me, but maybe not a problem for you, but you have to ask yourself, is making fun of the mentally ill something I find funny? If the answer is yes, definitely this is a film for you. If the answer is no, definitely it's not. And that is just one of those things. The other point is that, these particular form of horror movies tend to feature a character that is essentially a eunuch going about and expressing their sexuality with a knife, which is why you have the obligatory boob shot and a lot of nudity. Now, Camp Death 3 in 2D does not feature nudity. The sexual tension thing is kind of there in a gross out way, but there is no nudity. So if you see the kind of MILF character show up, you're not going to get to see anything. No, doesn't work that way. And that, again, is one of those things. If you're making this movie to be this shot at this kind of horror flick, it's like Jason Voorhees is big, silent, and unstoppable. So you're not making jokes about him being big, silent, and unstoppable. You're making jokes about everyone around him being stupid. Well, that's good, because that's in the movies. But then there's a scene cut out of a Star Wars film where, lightsabers appear. And it's like, well, that's not very in genre. I don't know. I didn't laugh at it, but I mean, maybe people will think it's funny, maybe they won't. Again, I might watch this film again and just laugh hysterically, but I'm going to say one thing about this particular type of film. Camp Death 3 in 2D, don't watch it alone. Not because it's a scary movie, but because if you watch movies alone, it's not a film that you can really feel the emotions of others with. And this is one of those, if you are with a bunch of people that enjoy this movie, their joy will likely be infectious. They'll laugh their heads off, and you'll laugh their heads off too. Yes, you'll laugh their heads off with an X. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, again, this is a problematic film. It's got good points and it's got bad points. It has got extreme jokes. It's, in some points, intentionally offensive. It's not for everyone, but it may be for you. Just table. Take that into consideration when you watch that movie, or if you watch this movie. It's one of those films that's just really out there crazy. Anyway, that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours down in the comments below, especially if you were a part of this film. Let me know. Talk to me. Maybe I'll write your next film, because I do that. But as another point, I'm doing a thing to save the ocean. I will, if I remember, put that video over here somewhere, and you can go there and look at how I want to save the ocean and make me spend money. So go do that. I'm Richard.